But yeah, tons of respect for people who are servers because that shit is a hard fucking job.
It really is. Really is. I think everybody should have to either work retail or wait tables for 1 year at some point in their lives so they can understand what a horrible, shitty job it is.
I've bartended before, which is, I don't know if that's better or worse than being a server because I have not been a server. But bartending is the fucking worst. So people just suck, you know? They just suck. So, and there's always some fucking douchebag who's like, "Oh, have sex on the beach," and you're like,
"Ew."
You can't say no, but you do have to go and get the book and find out what's in it. You know.
Dave, I'm surprised you didn't ask him if he was okay with having a nice tall glass of shut the fuck up.
You can have a nice tall glass of shut the fuck up. Yeah.
We do have plenty of that.
Yeah.
Plenty to go around.
I don't even have to ask the bar back to go downstairs and get it. I got it right here.
Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Megan Kearns, freelance writer, editor of Bitchflix, and a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
My name is Dave Riedel. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and that's what I do these days.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do. And my name is Evan Crean. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s movie guide to better living.
Yeah, you are.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So this week, we're going to be talking about 3 films. We're going to be talking about The Lovebirds, Lucky Grandma, and The High Note. So let's kick things off with The Lovebirds.
More like the Love Turds. Sorry. I don't have one for Lucky Grandma. Don't worry.
I was going to say, this is the new Issa Rae, Kumail Nanjiani film that's on Netflix.
Yes, the new Issa Rae, Kumail Nanjiani, Michael Showalter vehicle.
Yeah. I was really not looking forward to seeing this at all.
Okay.
And then Evan was like, "I'm watching it whether we fucking talk about it." And I was like, "All right." And then you were like, "I'll watch it too." I was like, "Oh my God."
No, I was excited to watch it too.
I didn't say you weren't. I'm just saying that you said, "Hey, I'm going to watch it," or "I did watch it," or whatever. And then I was like, "Fuck, I can't believe I won't even watch it."
It was that damn subtle peer pressure.
Yeah. But I was pleased to see Michael Showalter's name pop up because, as you know, other than knowing that, you know, Kumail and Issa Rae were in it, I just called him Kumail by his first name as if I am his friend. Which is not true. I hate it when people do that. They're like, "You talking about Edgar's new movie," and talking about Edgar Wright. And it's like, you're not his pal. Why don't you just fucking knock it off? So I'm sorry, everybody. I will never do that again. Unless I can't pronounce somebody's last name.
You know, sometimes I do that and I don't, and it's to defend other people possibly who do that too. I don't do it because I think we're buddies. Sometimes I do it because saying the name over and over and over and over, sometimes I'm just like almost abbreviating it. And I hate that I do it, but sometimes I do. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah. The Lovebirds. I'm going to guess that Evan really liked.
No, actually.
Oh! A surprise.
Are we going to guess? We should guess everybody what everybody thought.
Yeah, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. I felt kind of lukewarm on the whole proceeding, which is sad because I do love Issa Rae and Kumail Nanjiani.
Yeah, guys, I wanted to like this film so much because I love both of them, especially Issa Rae. I think she's amazing on Insecure, and she's such a great writer. Actually, I should say, I actually like her. This is going to be weird, maybe, but maybe not. I like her more as a person in interviews and her writing than I do as an actress. Yeah, I know it's kind of weird, but I do really like her on Insecure, and I liked her in The Photograph earlier this year. And I love films that take place over the course of a night or one day. That's like one of my favorite little subgenres.
Yeah, me too.
Yay! We should talk about this more. I love that it has two people of color as the leads in a rom-com. Like all good things. But as much as I like these two, oh my God, I did not like this film at all.
Yeah.
It was. Well, I'm more in Evan's camp. It was like, it was all right. You know, it was like, I think what worked for me was the two of them really carried a lot of dead weight. You know, you've got 87 minutes of movie, actually 81 minutes if we're not counting the credits. I cannot believe that this, like, at an hour and 21 minutes, it's like, roll credits. I'm like, really? Wow. I can't imagine the credit sequence is this long. And there's that dumb Amazing Race thing. But the two of them I thought they were both great.
Yeah, they are.
And they had good chemistry.
They really did. And I liked the way they interacted. But like a lot of movies that are, for lack of a better word, capers, because this isn't really a caper because they're not stealing anything. But you know what I mean? It's like date night. It's like, it should be good because we got two good performers in the leads. Yep. But the story is just kind of like, we're from this thing and we're framed for the what? And the one thing that I thought that surprised me was when the cop tricks them at the end and drives them home. He's like, I told you I was a cop. I'm like, oh, he did tell him he was a cop. And I kind of liked that. But otherwise, I was just kind of like,
That was super predictable, though, because they don't show the driver, and then you know that they're getting into his car.
Oh, for sure. But I just like that he said, I told you I was a cop. You know, I was like,
that was actually true.
Yeah. I'll say, if we're talking about the things we like, in addition to the two of them, which, oh my God, I want to see the two of them in a much better film, like a much better written film, because I think they would be delightful because they are delightful together. But the thing the one facet of the film that I actually really liked and appreciated is I really was pleasantly surprised to have commentary on racial profiling and police brutality in a rom-com. Like, I was like, that's very refreshing. You know, I love the conversation, you know, that Leilani and Gibran have about going to the police. And she's like, us, you and me, you know, how do you think that's going to go? They're never going to give us the benefit of the doubt, or they never do. And, you know, and I just thought it was great. Like, it's nice to have that kind of commentary. I just wish the rest of the film I had enjoyed it as much as that scene.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
I mean, so the high level summary is that they are a couple and they're on their way to a party, and this guy, they hit a cyclist accidentally. The cyclist gets up and runs, and then a guy gets in their car and says, I'm a cop. He follows the guy, runs over the guy in the bicycle, and then flees the scene, leaving them standing there and a witness walking down the alley. So they're like, oh shit, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Cue the racial profiling. We need to get out of here. So part of the movie is them being on the run, and the other part is them trying to figure out who this guy is, why he killed the cyclist, and how can they get evidence that he's the one who did it and not them.
Yeah. And also on top of, or in addition to that summary, a little bit more is that we start off by seeing them get together, like after their first night sleeping together, and, you know, they're all lovey-dovey and they're enamored with each other. And then it cuts to 4 years later and they're bickering and just driving each other, you know, bonkers, like with their, you know, nitpicking. And then they break up in the car before they hit the bicyclist. So
yeah. Yeah. So technically they're broken up throughout the movie.
Yes. But they get together at the end.
Of course.
Yeah. I don't know. Would have been more realistic if they were like, well, we survived this and our bond is deeper, but our love is not. See ya.
That's a very like Speed commentary, like how, you know, Keanu Reeves talks about how, you know, relationships don't work in high stress situations.
Yeah.
But anyway.
It was also interesting how some of it takes place in New Orleans, and some of it was clearly New Orleans, and some of it was not. So that was weird. And the whole, I don't know why people still think that. I mean, Eyes Wide Shut came out when? 99? I don't. Yeah, it's like
late 90s.
Let's stop. I know that everything lives forever now because we all have access to everything immediately. But the whole like underground sex thing, like I don't really think that if a senator was a part of an underground sex group, that it would actually be that big a deal if he was in it with his wife and these were all consenting adults, quite frankly. And they're from New Orleans. I mean, come on.
I think it would be a big deal.
Hey man, David Vitter was banging sex workers right and left, and he's still a fucking senator. So, you know.
I'm not saying he would lose his seat. I'm just saying it would be a big deal. I'm saying people would freak out because we live in a very puritanical country. So, and many parts are more conservative than others. And yes, and the South too, even New Orleans. So I don't entirely agree, but at the same time, it was really weird that it also, that kind of, it was kind of weird that it was like, oh, it's an Eyes Wide Shut orgy because it is so now cliche. But the other thing is too, is that what's really frustrating to me about the writing of this film, and that's, I think, the weakest part of this film, hands down, is that everything they talk about in the beginning of the film is foreshadowed later. Like they talk about The Amazing Race over and over and over. And of course, it's, you know, it's Paramount, so they're owned by CBS, but it's still like, really, do you have to shoehorn in your project? Like, it's just, it's annoying. But like they talk about The Amazing Race and then it comes up again, like, oh, it's The Amazing Race for dead people, you know, she says, and then they're on it at the end. And then they have the, you know, debate over whether or not you would schedule an orgy or whether it would be spontaneous. And then, oh no, you're not talking about an orgy, you're talking about a gangbang. So it's like, and then of course, that's the thing that's happening, is this secret orgy society. So it's just, it was so annoying that everything they talk about just comes up, and it's like nothing fits together like that. And yes, I know it's a movie and I know it's a rom-com, but still, it just, it wasn't interesting or funny or entertaining. It just was, it was a drag.
Agreed. I also just wanted to mention real quick, I was wrong. David Vitter didn't run again in 2016, so he's not a senator anymore.
Well, there we are.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. The whole thing about the orgies too was a weird kind of undercurrent joke that kept happening, where it was like Issa Rae's character was low key about it and he was low key not into it.
Yeah.
Like she would make comments where he's like, okay, there's a comment where he's like, you've made your thoughts on orgies plain or clear to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that felt really weird. Not in a good way. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, listen, there's nothing wrong with people liking orgies if that's your thing. I mean, I don't know. Just that's your thing. That's your thing. Go off, you know, have fun, be safe, you know, all that good stuff. But yeah, it felt weird to me and not in a good way. But I mean, there were a lot of things in the film that like, sometimes I chuckled, not because they were actually funny, but just because they were so ridiculous. Like Issa Rae telling, or Leilani telling Gibran, like, your beard looks like murder. And like, I laughed, not because that's actually funny, but just Issa Rae's delivery was so good. And like being threatened with like bacon grease or getting kicked in the chest with by a horse, like that, like what?
Yeah, there's nothing funny about being burned on the face by grease. There's another movie. I can't remember when this movie came out, but it'll tell you how old this is to tell you who the cast is. It's Billy Crystal, Catherine Zeta-Jones, and Julia Roberts, and some other guy. I don't know who. And Julia Roberts is Catherine Zeta-Jones' sister and her personal assistant. And she takes a plate of like hot scrambled eggs and dumps them in her lap. And it's just like, Catherine Zeta-Jones does that to Julia Roberts. It's like, that's not funny at all. Oh. That would be horrifying.
Yeah.
And it would just
scars. Like, yeah. And I think also considering the fact, you know, Issa Rae is a woman of color, and granted, you know, she's a Black woman, she's not an Arab woman, but Arab women get burned in the face, you know, with acid attacks. And like, so that's all I could think about was, you know, she's a woman of color, she'd be getting burned in the face, like with a, you know, oil attack, kind of like akin to acid. Like there was just something about it that just, I'm like, this is not the right tone for this. And this is just not funny. And it's not a zany madcap comedy anymore. It's like just bad and disturbing and like not even in a good way, not even a thought-provoking kind of way.
Agreed.
Yeah, you know, and the other thing is too, and I mean, I love rom-coms. You guys know I love rom-coms. And but the thing that drove me got me a little frustrated in this is like when they're waiting in the interrogation room and they're talking, and she confesses that she watched his documentary because he didn't, you know, he had hidden it from her and didn't want her to see it because he's a documentary filmmaker. And she's like, I thought you didn't care what I thought. And he's like, I cared so much. I would be so disappointed if I disappointed you, and blah, blah, blah. and he thinks she has everything figured out. And she's like, I have nothing figured out. And all that conversation it just annoyed me because it just showed that if people were fucking honest with each other and talk things out instead of lies and deceit in comedies and rom-coms especially, everything would work out, and of course there'd be no plot or point, but still.
Yes.
Yeah, the movie would be 10 minutes long.
Right, but I feel like if that's the case, if you're going to have lies and deceit, then you have to have a reason for it. It can't just be like, well, it's a convenient plot device. So it just, I don't know, it just was frustrating. And I know there's kind of a commentary going on in the facades of relationships and how, like, judging how happy, or fulfilled or sexy couples are based on their social media. Because, Lilani has that conversation with her friend at the dinner party, and she's like, oh, I thought you were having so much hot sex. And she's like, no, that's just to make my exes jealous. And like, but I just, I don't know. It didn't really go anywhere, add up to anything, unfortunately.
Agree.
Yes.
Yeah, but again, not
disappointing.
Very disappointing, but not the fault of the leads. I would go back to the fault of the writing and perhaps the direction, but definitely the writing.
Oh, for sure, writing.
Yeah.
So, is there anything
interesting?
What is interesting?
No, nothing's interesting. What's interesting is we all kind of agree that we're just sort of like, like you disliked it more than we did, Megan, but we're all kind of like, this is a kind of this is a swing and a miss,
Yeah. And it's disappointing. Yeah. Is there anything else that anyone wants to say, whether they liked, disliked, any thoughts?
Not me.
No.
Yeah, it's a bummer. All right. Well, let's move on to our next film that we're going to be talking about, which is Sazy Seeley's Lucky Grandma.
Oh, Grandma. You're so lucky. You're so lucky, Grandma.
The luckiest of grandmas.
The luckiest of grandmas. Actually, she does kind of get lucky. She's lucky she's not dead. But
it's true.
Yes, it is true. So Lucky Grandma stars Sai Chen as the titular grandma.
Mm-hmm.
I was
going to say she's a chain smoking grandma who does not give a fuck.
Yeah.
Yes. I was like, I love that she's cantankerous. She has zero fucks to give. She's opinionated. She's sassy. She wants things her way. She's really funny. But basically the very short synopsis is that she has a gambling addiction and she is on her way to the casino and she keeps betting money over and over and over, and her horoscope or fortune told her that she was going to be lucky, and so she bets on 8, which is the luckiest number in Chinese culture. And so she keeps betting on 8 and she keeps winning and winning and winning until she doesn't anymore. And then she loses all her money and she goes home on the bus and guy next to her dies and a bag falls in her lap and it's filled with money. And then hijinks ensue from there.
Yeah, that's a really great summary. And it's crazy too because she wins a shit ton of money playing roulette, which is like one of the riskiest games. And then she loses it on poker. She loses all of the money because she wins several times, and she's clearly got like thousands of dollars when she gets to the poker table that she loses.
Yeah. To which I say, hey, the card reader, man, you didn't do your job. What the hell? So.
Well, she went back to her and she said that she was still lucky.
Well, I guess she kind of was lucky in a way. Like I said, she's lucky she didn't end up dead. One of the things I liked about this is it takes the old person does something out of character that's crazy, and it just kind of does it really matter of factly, and it's just kind of like, well, it's crazy, but she's got kind of a stone face, so we're just going to go with that, and we'll just let everything happen around her after she makes all these decisions. Like, I don't know. I wanted to like this a lot more than I did because I think that, the drama when it finally gets there is just a little too heavy for how they resolve it. We're talking about gunplay and things like that at the end, and grandma gets shot and her grandson is kidnapped, and then the next thing you see, they're at the birthday party. Now, granted, the grandson is kind of like, hey, grandma. But
Yeah, he doesn't want
yeah.
anything to do
But
with
at the
her
same
after
time,
that.
it's still kind of like, well, there really weren't any consequences for anybody's actions in this, you know?
So I loved this.
Same.
This is
I very
fantastic.
much
I
enjoyed
love,
this.
yeah, love it. I
Oh,
love that this is a kind of weird, unusual mob crime film. I love Sai Chen. I mean, she is always amazing, and I loved seeing her as a lead here. I love that so often when we see films with an older woman protagonist, and there are not many films that with older women as the protagonist in the first place, they're usually white women, and so having an Asian woman is just amazing. And she's so damn good. I think she's
she
a
was
phenomenal
so great
actress.
in this part.
And so great.
Yes.
This part was just made for her. She's amazing. I love it. But yeah, you're right, Dave, though, that it is very much, like very black comedy throughout, kind of silly even at times. But then it does really get somber by the end. Like it takes a turn. But for me, it really worked. Like I felt that this film really earned that turn and even the ending too. Like it all worked. Like it sounds kind of like when you're laying it all out, the film sounds kind of, off the wall, and it is kind of off the wall.
Quirky.
It is. And that's what I loved about it. I so enjoyed it. It was such a pleasant surprise. I thought it was fantastic.
I think I need to lay out why you two are wrong.
No.
And
But sure.
and I see where you're coming from, and I agree sort of. But what I think the turn for me was, I love a good black comedy. I love it when, characters die horribly. It's fun. But I think what didn't work for me is how it stopped being a black comedy and got really serious. When her bodyguard punches one of the gangsters and he like hits his head in the kitchen table and dies, it's played for laughs. It's funny when they dump him in the trash because it's like hard to get him in the dumpster and da. But then after that, everything becomes much more serious. Like all the gunfire, and she ducks into that store and she doesn't realize she's been shot, and it's just kind of like, and then kidnapping the grandson. I mean, it's hard to make that funny. I'm sure it can be done. And they don't play it for laughs either when it finally happens. And so just the way that I think that I don't think the movie's idea is crime doesn't pay, so everything has to go shitty. I just kind of wish there had been more, for lack of a better word. I say that a lot. It's probably because my vocabulary is not very big, but I just wish.
Always gotta love. You gotta love the
I wish that it
self-deprecation.
had kept its buoyancy a little better, So that's where I.
See, that's funny. I hear what you're saying, but I actually don't think they play the guy dying for laughs. I didn't get that feeling. I didn't get that vibe. And like, I hear you, like listening to what you're saying. Like, yes, if I hadn't seen the film and I just heard what you're saying, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds like it's played for comedy. But I didn't get that. And I think because the actor who plays Big Pong, her bodyguard, and Sai Chin are so good in that scene, like I just didn't. And all the scenes, actually, I love their rapport. I love their friendship. Yeah. It's so weird and sweet and tender, and just I loved it. But yeah, for me, it didn't feel like it was being played for laughs. It was like, oh shit, this is fucking real. And like watching like the camera work and how it's like tilted and like how things are askew and they're off now for both of them, and then how it then shows them both sitting side by side at her son's house having dinner, and it's like they're in this together, because everything else around them is kind of muffled. So to me, it was reifying the gravity of the situation, not necessarily playing it for laughs. So
interesting take. Incorrect, but interesting. So yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I as Megan, I do feel like the death of the henchman for me was treated with enough seriousness in both the way it was handled and the performance by the actor who played the bodyguard. I liked that this movie felt very atmospheric in places, especially when you're in her apartment and she's, lighting incense at her husband's shrine. I love two things. First of all, I love when you first see the shrine that there is a container of Pringles there. So clearly her husband loved Pringles. But then later, when she finds the porn magazine in the bag of cash, she then moves
Yeah.
that and adds it to her husband's shrine.
No, that is great.
That
I
was
love
funny.
that. Yeah. The Pringles, I'd missed that. Great pick
Yeah,
up, Evan. I love
it's
it.
very. You almost would miss them, but I just looked and thought, "Oh my god, Pringles! This is hilarious." And that was something I loved in the farewell, was seeing when they go to visit the grandfather's grave and they do all that stuff where they're, peeling oranges and lighting cigarettes and giving all these snacks and things that their grandfather loved when he was alive. I don't know. I found that very heartwarming. I don't know. And so that's why I laughed so much and thought it was so funny that she was like, you know what? Even in death, I will give you your Pringles and your porn.
I will not deny you Pringles and porn. The two P's.
Yeah.
No, there is something very sweet about that. And I also think, especially thinking about that in conjunction with how angry she is that he left her nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the whole reason why she's, maybe not the whole reason why, because she very well seems to have some kind of gambling addiction problem, but the whole reason why she wants money and needs money because she has none. And when she breaks down and tells Big Pong that, it's just heartbreaking. And it's so sad that, here's this person she was with, her whole life. And she, was kind of counting on this nest egg or some sense of security. And she has none, but she's still honoring his memory. And just the sense of conflicted feelings and being so angry is just, I just thought it was great to see. And so often women are not, they're denied the ability to show anger on screen. And so I loved that. And I thought that was just such a heartbreaking and great scene, as I really just enjoyed seeing her on screen. And I just loved spending time with her because she's such a funny lady.
Yeah. And she drives a hard bargain, which I love. She puts
She's a mean negotiator.
So a gang comes after this money, and she hires a rival gang to be her bodyguards, and she just is the shrewdest negotiator with getting that rate for her bodyguard. But and then later you find out that she stole from the gang that she was paying, and she finds a way to play the other gang to her advantage in a way that they all just end up fighting each other, and she comes out squeaky clean at the end. Like, she gets shot, but she's still friends with Big Pong, and he comes to her grandson's birthday party. I think he slides him a gift. You see that very quickly.
Yep. I know. And I have to say, when Big Pong is carrying her out of the kind of warehouse shootout, which that scene is great, I was crying as she's go home and marry that girl that you wanted to and have lots of babies. And, I'm going to leave you my apartment. And I'm just it's just because their friendship was so sweet. I just loved it right away. Right away, I was totally in, and I was totally invested into the two of them and their interactions, because I loved her, giving him advice and listening to the two of them. And yeah, it was great. And I also really liked that when she's in the steam room, she meets, the mysterious, illustrious Sister Fong, who's the head of the, gang, the Zongliang gang. And I love that it's, again, a lady in charge. I'm here for that. Mm-hmm. Although I was like, why are you drinking the tea, the poison tea? I feel like, the Grandma Wang or Wang would know better. I feel like she would know better than to do that. Grandma Wang.
Yeah, probably.
Yes. Yeah. But I do have to say, I kind of like how she runs out, and then when the original henchmen are chasing her down the street, or one of the henchmen is chasing her down the street, she runs into the guy who's supposed to escort her home, and she's like, "Where were you? I was looking everywhere for you." Anyway. But it's also really disturbing as she's walking amongst the dead bodies on the street. After she gets shot, mm-hmm. That's so disturbing. And then when she notices the blood stain on her stomach, ugh. But yeah, I loved this. And, it is kind of weird to have the film, start kind of with her son being like, hey, we want you to come and live with us. And then, at the end, it's like, here's the room. And, it's a beautiful room and it's a very nice house. And, and he's still offering her, to come and live with him again. And it feels like if you watch the beginning of the film and then the end of the film, like you'd never know. Like if you just watch those, you wouldn't know what happened in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, it could have been like this family drama about a son and the mother accepting the fact that they need to live together now for a mutual benefit or something.
I know. But I kind of love that. And I feel like in a lesser film, it wouldn't work. It would feel very jarring. And I feel like in this film, I was totally on board and I loved it. And I thought it completely worked. Yeah. I also love that there are commentaries and they're subtle, but I love that there are commentaries on age, like how people assume that she's, kind of, even though she looks really cranky, and she's opinionated and she's acerbic, people kind of assume that she's, unassuming, like, and she's not someone to take really seriously. And, at first, and I love like when the henchmen are interrogating her, she's like, when you're my age, not much shocks you, when she's lying to them about, money and about how she didn't know that the guy sitting next to her on the bus had a heart attack and died. And there's also a very brief scene where very early in the film where she's like putting like face cream on her face. And then she kind of like waves away at the camera like, oh, fuck it, I give up. And I just like, I'm old. And there was something about that I really enjoyed. And it just kind of gave more depth to who she was as a character. And I love that.
Me too.
Yeah. Also one of my favorite, actually probably my favorite line in the film is when they're washing dishes, her and her son, after her birthday party. And her son says, Dad wouldn't want you to be alone. And she's like, he doesn't have a say. I love that. And I love that she pushes people. She pushes past people to get on hurry up and get on the casino bus. And it's just like within the first 10 minutes, you know everything you need to know about her. And that's just great. And to me, that's great writing, great acting. I love that.
Okay. So, I mean, you haven't changed my mind, but
oh damn!
I did like it. I just didn't work for me as well as it worked for you two.
That's fair. Yeah. At least you liked it, and not everything is going to work. I also have to say, thinking about this, because I always think about, well, I shouldn't say I always think about Connecticut because that's not true. But I do think it's interesting that this takes place at Foxwoods, and also thinking about how Uncut Gems also did.
Yeah.
Or was that at Mohegan? I always forget.
It was Mohegan. Yeah. Yeah, it was Mohegan
at Uncut Gems. Okay, then never mind. I've been to both, so they kind of merged together for me. But anyway.
But yeah, I did think that was kind of funny because we were watching the beginning and we were thinking, well, she's in New York City, so where else would she be going? It seems like Foxwoods. And then it was like, you see something on the table, it says Foxwoods. Okay, this is clearly.
Yeah. Right, because it could have gone either way. She could have gone to Atlantic City, Yeah. I mean, although, usually you would go to Foxwoods or Mohegan. No, not Monhegan. I went to Monhegan, Maine, and so now I call Mohegan Monhegan anyway. It's very confusing because I don't. Anyway. Okay, but do we have anything? Because I could go on and on talking about my trips to Maine. Do we have anything else that you want to say about the film?
No.
Evan, do you?
No, I'm satisfied with my take on Lucky Grandma.
Chin is just so good. I now want to watch all of her films. But anyway, all right. Well, now we're going to be talking about the high note.
Or the low note. Okay.
Ah.
Yeah. I've been wanting to call this one note.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
I'm going to say boo. Boo, boo, boo.
Yeah.
So
I wanted to like it.
Well, there we go. That's something.
I'm going to just jump in real quick and say I didn't dislike it, but I didn't like it.
All right.
So
well, that was a roller coaster of emotions for me. You're like, oh, I didn't dislike it. Oh, but I didn't like it.
Oh.
Push pull. Gotta love the push pull. So The High Note is Nisha Ganatra's new film that stars Tracy Ellis Ross and Dakota Johnson. And Tracy Ellis Ross is a major superstar singer who hasn't come out with a new album in like 10 years. And Dakota Johnson is her assistant of 3 years, who is an aspiring producer. And so you guys didn't really care for it too much. I really thought this was delightful. I enjoyed the hell out of this. So I want to hear why it didn't work for you.
Because it followed the Save the Cat formula, and it was also just kind of very ole about everything. It's just kind of like, these things are just happening. The stakes are low. We all have money. Whatever. That's kind of how it felt. Even though it did make some good points, I thought, about racism, particularly in the music industry and what it's like to be a woman in the music industry. I thought that scene where Tracy Ellis Ross was telling Dakota Johnson, "You're a dick," basically, was really pretty powerful. But I think the rest of the movie, I think the screenplay otherwise really undercut anything different that it may have had to say about the biz. Mostly because by the time they got to, "Oh, this is my son," the whole time that you didn't know and you were producing his... That just like, come on, man. That's some fucking crazy, stupid love bullshit. Let's not,
Well, that twist was the biggest mistake. And it was the twist is horseshit. Like, I love this film and I do love it, but there are a few things I have problems with. And one of them is that twist. It's completely unnecessary. You don't need it, shoehorn it in there. But yes, I want to get back to, and we can talk about it more because I do want to hear, Evan, why it didn't work for you. But that commentary, I mean, I think there's a lot of commentary on beauty and gender and aging and sexism and racism in society at large and in the music industry. But yeah, that speech is fucking amazing. Like, I was like applauding. I literally was clapping in my house. Like, I was like, yes, it's fantastic. I love it. I love the fact that she says, only 5 women over the age of 40 have ever had a number 1 hit and only 1 Black woman. Like, yes, absolutely.
Who was the one Black woman? Her mother? I have no idea. I mean, her mother in real life, Diana Ross. I don't mean the character's mother.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, yes. I know, for a minute it was jarring because I'm like, Diana Ross? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but I love that she says to her, you live in a magical world where race and age don't exist, her and she's talking about the execs too. And I love that.
But I think what makes it harder for me is not that I think that's a really great moment in the movie, but then you have the rest of the movie that kind of centers around this wishy-washy, and I mean wishy-washy in demeanor, not in behavior necessarily, but wishy-washy, like privileged white brat who's just like, brat's not the right word. She's just kind of like, well, I'm doing this thing because I can, and I'm going to play these people off each other. And, Black people are here to teach me a lesson. And I learned. And now I get to be a big producer because, come on. Evan, am I wrong? Is that why you didn't like it?
No, but I feel like you're giving me new reasons to dislike it.
Perfect.
I don't think Evan needed any reasons.
Yeah, you're giving me more ammo. I think I agree with you guys that scene in the bathroom was a really great scene. I think that drove its point home really strong on its commentary on the industry. And I did pick up on those kind of other tidbits here and there, and I think that was definitely interesting. For me, it really just boils down to I just don't buy Dakota Johnson's performance and character in this movie. In that, Dave, what you're saying, it is a wishy-washy kind of. I don't feel the enthusiasm. I don't see the passion there that you would expect from someone who's trying this hard to make it in the industry. Like, the memorization is there, I know facts about musicians, but to me, it didn't work. And so it was really hard for me to buy an entire movie based around this person's quest for success when I just didn't buy them. I didn't buy the character. I didn't buy the performance. And so, yeah, I feel like that was my major issue with the movie. Aside from the fact that you were saying it felt kind of low stakes overall, because none of them are really in that bad of a position. Like, even when Dakota Johnson has to go home, she gets to go hang out at her dad, Bill Pullman, by the way, great late Bill Pullman performance
Bill Pullman.
In the movie, not he's dead, but late in the movie. And, it's like she still gets to hang out with her dad, who's a cool radio DJ, and then she can have her own radio stuff. So life is not ultimately that terrible. I would like to talk about the twists, though, because Dakota Johnson's character is producing this guy on the sly, played by Kelvin Harrison Jr., who is fantastic.
He's amazing in everything.
He's a really good actor.
Yes. He is so damn charming. I love him.
Yeah, and he is do you guys, either of you guys, know if that's him singing in the movie?
I don't. Now I feel like I want to look this up.
Yeah, because to me, I felt like it would have been believable to me that could be his voice. But then I was like, I'd never heard of him being musical, even in the slightest.
Though, there are so many actors who are musical. They do musical theater as, teens and young people. So I would not be surprised if that actually was him. But yeah, I'm just not sure.
But getting back to the twist for a moment. So the big twist is that, this guy she's producing is actually the son of this mega superstar. And I just wanted to know if that was something that you guys saw coming, or if you felt like you were genuinely shocked by the twist, because I did see it coming. And I'm just curious if you guys also picked up on that.
Well, no, I thought that the writing was so mediocre that it never occurred to me that it would slip into fucking bathos, Yeah. Actually, it's not bathos, but still, it was just, it's needless.
Mm-hmm.
It's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just like, I feel like it only exists to give Tracy Ellis Ross's character a little more like, ooh, this is why but she doesn't explain why she did anything. And not that she should have to. She's like, yeah, so I had a kid before I became a star, whatever. But in the movies, you need, it's just kind of like, you can bump into somebody that you haven't seen in 15 years when you're on vacation under the Eiffel Tower and you live in New York and they live in Seattle. And you're like, oh my God, what a coincidence. We're here at the same time. You can't do that in the movies, So it's like, you can't have a kid who's the secret in the movie the whole time, and in the last 10 minutes be like, oh yeah, and this is my kid, and I had a whole life before I was famous. Fuck that. I mean, come on.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
No. Well, I'm bracing myself because after we talk about this, we have to go back because there's so much I haven't even said about my thoughts on this film. I've barely scratched the surface of what I think about this. So I agree. So I did not see the twist coming. And there were a lot of other, not twists, but plot points that I 100% saw coming. And I think I was enjoying the film so much, or I thought more highly of the film, that I was like, I don't know if my mind was like, no, that wouldn't happen. But yeah, I thought the twist is the biggest flaw in the film. I think it's completely unnecessary. It completely detracts from their relationship, Maggie's and Grace's. I think it detracts from the film itself. It's completely unnecessary. I don't hate it. It doesn't make me dislike the film or anything, nothing like that. But I just think it's completely unnecessary. And it makes me feel like if I was the one editing this, or if I was the one who was a producer or writer, I would not have written it in the first place. And I would have advised maybe we should change that, because it just doesn't work. What I will say though, I don't dislike the fact that she had this whole other life. I kind of like that because we're given that, that's sprinkled throughout the film where she, hints that she had this great love and she chose herself, and, she picked her career over her personal life. So I don't have a problem with that at all, that she did end up having a kid. I don't have a problem with that. She chose that life, of focusing on her career and herself. But what I have a problem with is, and I'm kind of conflicted about it. So part of me is why does she need to have a child in order to soften her and to make her a more palatable and likable, quote unquote, female character? Is that why? Because she's been such a hard ass throughout the whole film. And I love that about her. I love Tracee Ellis Ross is so damn good in everything. I think she's funny. I think she exudes confidence and poise and charisma and arrogance as a superstar here. And so I don't think she needs to be softened. I don't think she needs to apologize for anything. But at the same time, conflicted, I also feel like, well, look at her. Now she's got a relationship with her son. She's got her major career. She's got a new album coming out. Look, good for her. She's got fucking everything. Like, that's amazing. So I kind of felt conflicted about the twist, but overall did not like it. Like, I think there would have been a better way to have her where we could talk about her having a child and reconnecting with a child that wasn't, Maggie's boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like, it was ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, you're taking a complicated three complicated relationships and making them infinitely more complicated, because
yes.
Oh, I work for you, but I'm sleeping with your son and I'm producing his record, which, by the way, you should not sleep with your fucking star. I mean, forget both of you. What's wrong with you two? Keep the romance out of it. Produce his first record, let him become a big star, and then say, you know what? So, Bob Rock is going to produce your next album. Let's go bone. So that's how that goes.
Because there's nothing sexier than saying Bob Rock's going to produce your next album. Let's go bone. Actually, maybe that is great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you never know. Bob Clearmountain's going to mix it. It's going to be great. But I just, that twist is so wacky. And I agree with Megan. I love Tracee Ellis Ross, generally speaking. And she's really great in this movie, but I had a hard time. I didn't really have a hard time caring about her so much. It was more like what Evan said. Like, Maggie just didn't work for me. I think that's what it ended up being. It's just like, yeah, you get fired, fine, but you fucking live on the beach. You wake up and it's sunny and the surf is rolling in. And at what point does Walt Disney wander into your apartment?
Okay, but wait a minute. I have to stop there for a moment because you guys are right. She is privileged. So are 90% of the people in films. So, I mean, there are plenty of privileged dudes in films and they never get called out for being rich or being able to fall back on their wealthy parents who live at the beach.
Not true. I always call that shit out.
I've never heard you do it. No, I'm kidding. I'm talking about the larger conversation at large. Like, it typically is not a criticism where it's a criticism of privileged women in film, not a criticism of privileged men in film. Having said that, I actually think Dakota Johnson is great. I think she's highly underrated as an actress. I loved her in Suspiria. I loved her in this. I think she's great. I did believe that she was into music and has been obsessed with music her whole life. I also like that, Grace calls her out for memorization, oh, you have an encyclopedic memory, but that's not what being a producer is. Being a producer is about trust, and how would I ever trust you? And I think that's great that she calls her out on that. What I also have to say, though, is that I love their relationship, and it is a complicated relationship, but I love that Maggie is so inspired by Grace. She admires her career. She admires her talent and really looks up to her, which is really complicated considering that Grace, sometimes treats her as a confidant and then other times treats her, horribly. So, it's, for me, that worked just because, relationships are complicated. And, and for me, it kind of worked in that same way. It's kind of like, to me, this was Devil Wears Prada meets Working Girl meets Beyond the Lights. It kind of had all of those elements working. What I will say, and this is my other thing about the film that I wish was different, was I love Tracee Ellis Ross so much, and I think she's so good in this role, as I think she's great in every role. I wish the film had focused on her. And I really like Dakota Johnson, and I really think...
I agree.
Yeah, I think she's great, but it almost, in a way, felt like two separate films. And I wanted to see the film with Tracee Ellis Ross as the main focus. And I think that would have been a better film, even though I did genuinely love this, and I found this very enjoyable and very comforting. And also the thing about her having to go back home to her father, I think that is such a rom-com trope, like the fact that she's planning like a scheme, like she's trying to get, her boyfriend to play the concert of her boss, and she's like going behind everyone's backs, and it's very rom-com-y. And the fact that she loses her job and she loses her boyfriend, also rom-com tropes. So to me, it was very, very much playing into the genre conventions. So for me, it worked because I was like, yep, that's what's going to happen. Like I knew that was going to happen because I'm like, yep, this is the genre. It's very predictable and comforting.
So I feel like she needlessly torpedoed herself on the whole getting him to play. You tell him after the concert.
Totally.
After the concert, not before the concert. Like he's all pumped up. And I was just thinking, like, you didn't need to torpedo yourself. Just tell him to go on stage and then you tell him after, because then after he will have performed and everything will be great. But now you just screwed yourself because now he's not going to perform. And so for me, that was one of the tip-offs is when he said, does she know about this? To me, that indicated a level of familiarity that was his mom. And wouldn't that be the case where she would be pissed if she didn't know her son was going to show up and play it? But they also, I don't think he ever really talked about his mom either. He only talked about his dad, and he was super wealthy for like, he didn't really have a job. And so I thought that could be another thing. He could have, money that you inherited from her.
That's totally. No, it's a great tip off. Yeah, you're 100% right. It is a great, because she even asks him that. She's like, how are you? She's like, you have all this and you're playing in grocery stores. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. So no, that's definitely great. I want to go back, since we talked about, and we led this off, and Dave, I'm so glad you did lead this off about talking about that great speech. There are other commentaries on sexism happening and ageism too, like the scene where Grace is sitting watching TV and she has like plastic wrap on her arms and a red light mask on for her, facial. And I just like, they were very like, it's a very quick scene. It's very like, there's no, verbal commentary on it, but I love that to show what women have to do. And by the way, those light masks are fucking expensive. Just a sidebar, they're really fucking expensive, especially the good ones. But and I also love, this is another like kind of another visual commentary on sexism without saying anything, is I love how Grace wears red throughout the film, and she really stands out visually, and it's really, visually appealing, but also when she's in a meeting with those music execs where they're trying to convince her to do the Vegas residency, she stands out. They're all wearing like blues and tans and everything's neutral, and she's wearing this like bold red jumpsuit. And to me, that's obviously red is such a powerful color, and it's showing she's confident and the focus in the center, but no one wants to hear what she actually has to say except Maggie, who's like sitting off to the side. And it shows like the ageism and the sexism of how she's the only woman at the table surrounded by these men, none of whom want to hear anything she has to talk about. And they just want to run her career. And so there were touches like that I loved. But, again, I just wish the focus had been on Grace. And I think that would have been, I would have liked to have seen that film. But I also really liked the film that it was. So, yeah.
Fair enough.
But I love that at the end, the women are working together. It's like, woohoo. And I love that she says she's never worked with a female producer, and now Maggie's going to be her producer.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. I also think that she has the easiest, Maggie has the easiest assistant job of anybody I've ever known who worked in Hollywood. I've known quite a few people who started out as personal assistants, and let me tell you, you're not going home at 6:00. So.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Like that one scene where she's like supposed to meet up with Calvin Harrison Jr. and instead like Grace is like, no, like stay and help me clean up my closet. And she's like, these are just the party dresses or whatever she says. And it's like 10:00 at night. And she's like, oh, like, no, if you were her assistant, you'd be there probably till 10, 11, o'clock, midnight, like many nights.
Yeah, for sure.
Many, many nights.
Anyway, okay, so you liked it, blah, blah. All right.
I did. I loved it. I thought it was, blah, blah, blah. I thought it was comforting. It was beautiful. Like there were some gorgeous scenes. Like I loved watching Grace's concert scenes. I love the opening montage of all of her, like her Grammys and her MTV awards and her, her covers on magazines. Like I loved that. There were a lot of montages in this, which I'm usually not a fan of, but I didn't mind them here. But yeah, I loved the female camaraderie, the commentary on sexism and ageism. Yeah, and Tracee Ellis Ross. I mean, Tracee Ellis Ross, just give her every lead role. Just put her in everything.
Yeah. Yeah, she's good. She's got the goods.
She does. And I liked hearing her sing too. That was nice as well.
That's right. Yeah. That was her. Yeah, that's right.
That is her. Yeah. I thought it was interesting. She had a voice coach, a vocal coach, and a movement coach.
I saw that in the credits too.
Yeah, I loved that. I'm like, ooh, that's fascinating. But yeah, and it might be a little predictable. I don't care, but I love that the final song that she's singing is, I don't care if everybody likes me. I just want to love myself. I'm like, oh, yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the other thing I will say about that, though, is that I wish the final shot had been on her, not on Maggie. Because, I mean, I know it's Maggie's film. We're really following her story. We're not really following Grace, unfortunately. But it opens with Grace, so I wish it had ended with her because she's such a powerful Black woman artist. I wish the film had ended with her.
Yeah. Makes sense. But that's why it's a bad movie. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the ending, we could have either had it end with her and her son singing that duet, or they could have or they could have just done the recording studio. I didn't need both of those endings. I felt like that felt like it was overstaying its welcome.
I agree with you. There. Yeah. It could have been a tighter ending. Definitely agree.
Not as many endings as Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, but one ending too many.
True.
Listen, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King has a brilliant ending. Well, actually, really, it's funny. The ending that I think of is actually not the real ending. So maybe you're right.
Okay.
Touche.
Yes, touche. All right. But let's recap the films that we've talked about. So we would say
no.
Skip it on Lovebirds.
Yeah. Skip.
I know it pains me to say that, but yeah, skip it. Watch them each in better things. Lucky Grandma.
Yes.
For
sure.
Yes.
Yes, I would say definitely see it. Dave, are you hesitant to see it?
No, I mean, I think.
Oh, okay.
No, it's more like, it's one of those movies that afterward you think about it and it's just like, this doesn't hold up. Although I did feel that way in the middle too. But I still think the lead performance is so strong that it's just worth watching for her.
Yep. I agree with that. Well, I agree with that. You should see it regardless. But yes, her performance is amazing. Okay. And what would you guys say for the high note?
I'm going to have to agree.
Okay, then we are divided because I would say absolutely definitely see it because like I said, I loved this. Yes, there are some flaws, but I still loved it. And if nothing else, Tracee Ellis Ross is always charming and wonderful and should be seen. And by the way, we didn't even talk about my favorite joke in the film, where she is apologizing and she says, I may or may not have said some things that could have hurt someone's feelings. And for that, I forgive myself. And I literally laughed out loud. I was like, that is amazing. And that's why you are a goddess, Tracee Ellis Ross. I love you. Okay. So I would say see it, but you guys would say not. Okay. Sorry. I lost my place. There we are. My apologies. So that's going to do it for this week's episode of Spoiler Piece Theater. And you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find us on Libsyn, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, you name it. We are there. You can also rate us if you like us, which we hope you do. And Evan, where can people rate us?
You can go to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece.
Perfect. And if you like us, you can also follow us on social media. We're everywhere. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Spoiler Piece. So we hope you follow us there. Like things, share things, tweet at us. We always love to hear from you. You can also reach out and email us because again, like I said, we love to hear from you. So email us at spoilerpiece@gmail.com. You can also call us and leave us a message. You can call us at
862-21-PEACE.
Yes. And if you like what you hear, you can also become a Spoiler Piece patron at patreon.com/spoilerpiece. We have tiers of $1 a month, $5 a month, where you get to listen to exclusive weekly bonus episodes and vote in monthly polls. And like this week's bonus episode is on Justin Lin's Better Luck Tomorrow. And for $10 a month, you get to tell us what to watch each month, and we'll talk about it on a bonus episode each month. So that's pretty exciting.
It's a lot of fun.
It is. We have fun. So my name is Megan Kearns. I am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and you can follow me on Twitter at OpinionessWorld and on Instagram and Letterboxd at The Opinioness.
My name is Dave Riedel. I am with no one at the moment, but I am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and you can follow me on the tweets and all of that stuff as Dave Sees Movies, Twitter, Letterboxd, and Instagram. I don't know. I just feel like I got to call it the tweets.
I like the tweets.
And my name is Evan Crean. I am co-chair of BAFCA and co-author of your 80s movie guide to better living. And you can follow me on the tweets and on Instagram as Real Recon.
All right. So again, thank you so much, listeners. We appreciate you and we hope you stay safe and stay well. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.